Headshots and resumes. Hey everyone, I'm Matthew Cornwell with Get Taped here in Atlanta, Georgia, one of Atlanta's original audition taping services, and I co-own it with my amazing wife, Brooke. And now on to our topic, headshots and resumes. Every Q&A that I've been at in the last 20 years with industry professionals has had questions about headshots and or resumes come up, so we thought it might be a good topic to cover here. Because while some agents and casting directors have specific preferences when it comes to headshots and resumes, there are some overall principles that we can all agree upon. Keep in mind, this topic is very nuanced, and we don't have time to cover everything here. But at the very least, we feel this will be a good primer for the topic. Headshots. Okay, so what makes a good headshot? A great headshot? A bad headshot? Well, the answer gets subjective pretty quickly, but let's take a stab at it anyway. A good headshot. A good headshot is what most actors have currently. Their reps don't hate it, the casting directors are still calling them in. It looks like them, it's well lit, it's composed nicely, blah blah blah. It's a great starting point for an actor, but many actors get stuck with a serviceable headshot for years. And I mean that every time they update their headshots, they end up with a good headshot. So getting a good headshot for someone like me is really easy because I don't change my look very often. I don't cut my hair or shave my beard. I don't wear any wigs or makeup, etc. So what would take a good headshot to a great headshot? A great headshot includes all of the elements of a good headshot, but what it adds on top is the fact that the headshot represents the full experience of you. Because the number one pet peeve of any casting director or agent, if you're trying to get represented by them, is when you walk through the door or you show up on that self-tape that you don't look like the headshot. And I don't mean that your makeup's different or your hair's different. I mean that the vibe that comes across in the photo does not match what walked into the room. So let's approach this from a different standpoint. Imagine if I asked you to write down the 5 to 7 major character archetypes that you play most often, or that you audition for most often. And I don't mean just the occupation like cop or nurse. I mean to add the adjectives into that character archetype that truly define you in a very specific manner. If you can't do that off the top of your head, then pause this video, check out the show notes below, and head over to our sister channel at Sam Christensen Studios Atlanta and watch some of the videos. Because the Sam Christensen image process was originally designed to get you great headshots. In the 30 years that it's existed, it's developed to so much more. But since we're talking about headshots, go check out some of those videos right now. I'll wait. Welcome back. Now that you've taken the Sam Christensen process and you understand those major character archetypes that you are designed to play, does your headshot represent most, if not all of them? So take me, for instance. I audition for a lot of cops, stoic cops, intimidating cops, or just overall bad cops. Go figure. I also audition for salt of the earth good old boys, or nonchalant blue-collar workers. You see where I'm going with this? This headshot of mine can serve me for all of those roles, and a few more to boot. I don't need to put on a cop uniform and have a specialty headshot for that. This singular photo will represent many of the dramatic roles that I will be called to play. So for me, this has worked as a great headshot. Shout out to Robbie Glenn Photography, link in the show notes below. The part that I glossed over when it comes to good and great headshots is the photographer themselves, or how it's framed, lighting, wardrobe, and all of that. Those questions can become very specific to you and your market. Not every market wants a close-up shot. Some still want a slightly wider shot, and that changes over the years. So it wouldn't do me much good to give you a standard right now when it's probably irrelevant for some of you watching. And as far as the photographer themselves, ask around, get recommendations, ask your acting teacher or your fellow actor friends who have good headshots, then check out those websites. So before we jump to resumes, let's talk about bad headshots. Well, luckily you're too smart to have one of these, right? And a bad headshot can come in many forms. A selfie, a gimmicky headshot, a headshot from a portrait studio in the mall, or some other person who is not in tune with the industry. The photographer you choose needs to understand your market and what casting directors and agents are looking for. So unless your brother is familiar with the agent that you've been targeting for representation, they're probably not qualified to take your headshots. Sorry, bro. I did want to show this one headshot, which is from our web series, Becky and Barry. which followed two actors who are married but also extremely naive about the industry at large. And this was Barry Thompson, my character's headshot that he tried to use to show how versatile he was. And I don't have to tell you that this is a great headshot. Resumes. Okay, so for this discussion, let's look at a sample I generated. I took my resume and I reformatted it and changed it to look like a bad resume. So let's go through it and see what all the errors are. This is my resume, but I've reworked it to include a lot of mistakes. So let's see how many we can find. First, my name is the same font and size as the rest of the text. This is my brand. Why is it virtually hidden on this piece of paper? You need to showcase it. Next, I have unnecessary vitals on here. All my sizes are going to be on Actors Access or other websites, so I can keep that simple on the resume. Next, how are they going to contact me? My personal email or phone is not on here, and if I'm represented, I don't have an agency contact. But egad, my home address is on here. Perfect for all those stalkers out there. That needs to be rectified. Now let's get on to the credits. They're very hard to read. It looks like I tried to use columns, but the tabs didn't quite work on all of the lines. Plus, I'm using mixed formatting. On the first one, I just have the role. On the second one, I put the role in parentheses. On the third credit, I switched to just using the word principal. Now look at the fourth credit. I've spelled principal differently. That happens all the time, and it is such a rookie mistake. Which one do you think is right? Hint, a principal is a person. Therefore, that is what goes on your resume. Principal, P-L-E, is a standard that you live by. Don't ever spell it P-L-E on your resume. You'll look like a rookie. And we see this inconsistency continue on throughout my film credits. And it just looks sloppy and messy, and I don't really know what I'm looking at. Now look at the theater credits. I have years next to every one of them. That quickly shows how long it's been since I have done theater. And finally, in the special skills, nothing wrong other than the fact that I'm using commas to separate them. It's very hard to scan for a casting director or a director who might be looking at your resume on the fly. So now, here's a cleaned up version of my resume. As you can see, my name is front and center, and I've chosen a font that I feel is authentic to me. I've also put my agency's logo and contact information on there. I've taken away some of the stats that are unnecessary for a resume. And notice the 3-column structure. This is so much easier to glance over and look for the information that is going to pop out to you. On film and TV, you notice that I've taken away all character names. Those are irrelevant on a TV and film resume. You can instead just put the billing that you received. Every speaking role is considered a principal, and so you can use that for pretty much all of your roles on your resume because, hint, you shouldn't be putting extra work or background work on your resume. If your role was recurring or supporting or you were a bigger role, then certainly indicate that as well. And then notice the third column, I've used either the production company and the director for film, and then on the TV side, I've used the network. Because if I'm auditioning for Fox again, they'll see that I've worked for them before, and that could work in my favor. Also notice in the theater section, I've taken all dates off the resume, and in the training and special skills, I still maintain that 3-column structure. Now I want you to notice that under film and TV and theater, in parentheses, it says partial list. What's that all about? Well, I do have to give credit to this next little nugget to Bonnie Gillespie, link in the show notes below. Her philosophy, which I totally agree with, is that your resume is not supposed to be a catalog of everything you have ever booked. No. Instead, it should be a curated list of your projects that you've done that train the potential buyer, i.e. the casting director or producer or showrunner, on how to cast you, on how you want to be seen, on what your brand is. So it means that some of your older credits that still might be your biggest credit or your best credit or the most representative character that you've played, that can still be front and center at the top of that section. There does not have to be a reverse chronology to the list of your credits. You can curate this however you want to present the image you want to present. So to sum up, your headshot and resume are extremely important pieces of your overall marketing or your brand. It's not just about getting a photo. It's not just about listing your credits. You have precious few moments, nanoseconds, to make an impression on a potential buyer. And so you want that photo to not just be a good photo, but to be a great photo that captures the experience of you in 2-dimensional form. And you want that resume, again, not to be a catalog of everything you've ever done, ever, but instead a carefully curated list of your past credits that show me, a potential buyer, how to view you. And then all of this needs to be reinforced by your presence when you walk into that room or you show up on that self-tape. If you're telling a lie in your headshot or your resume, or you're just not telling the full story, then when they see you for real, they're going to be disappointed and could actually work against you substantially. There's so much more nuance to these topics of headshots and resumes, but I hope that I've given you a couple nuggets that can help you maybe revisit what your current materials look like and give you some ideas of maybe how to upgrade them the next time around. As always, if you have any questions about these topics, please leave a comment below, or you can email us. That's it for now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on set.